Okay, so I'm also going to record on the computer too.
Here we go.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Hello,
I'm also going to
and
record
welcome. The computer too. Okay, I don't know what's happening there. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Self-Care Goddess podcast with today's theme, lifting the menopausal fog and other symptoms with intermittent fasting, one of my favorite topics and things to do. So we have an expert here today, but before we start, as you know, let's get into a heart coherence for just a couple of moments. So if you feel comfortable lowering your gaze or even closing your eyes, I invite you to sit with your back straight and just follow the breath flowing in and out of your nose. Let's inhale for 4 counts and out for 4. So in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. Let's add a pause in, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4. Let's breathe normally as you normally would, but still noticing the breath flowing in and out of your body. And now I invite you to focus your attention in the area of the heart. So allow the breath to flow in and out of this beautiful organ that's keeping you alive. Where attention goes, energy flows. So let's energize this beautiful organ. And as you continue this heart-focused breathing, I now invite you to visualize someone that you're grateful for today, living or past. Could also be a pet. Visualize them as if they were right here in front of you. And I invite you to send them all the love, the gratitude, and the appreciation for them being in your life. And in this space of immense gratitude for this person, I invite you to turn the attention onto you and give yourself all the love, the gratitude, and the appreciation you deserve for being here, taking the time for self-care, self-love, listening to this amazing information, and maybe sharing it with someone who may really benefit from this conversation today. I'm just taking these 2 minutes out, tuning out the outer world and tuning in to yourself. On your next inhale, take a nice deep belly breath in, expanding the belly and then letting it go, contracting the belly. Beautiful. Slowly open your eyes and come back to us. Thank you for participating in that quick coherence technique. Okay, so today we have Lauris Lewis for intermittent fat. She is an intermittent fasting coach and author. Menopause dealt a crushing blow, brain fog, lack of balance, memory loss, and the sudden gain of 50 pounds of stubborn hormonal fat. She tried everything she knew to feel better, and the methods that worked in the past made no difference. After 4 years of struggle, Lauris stumbled upon intermittent fasting and started fasting that very same day. The menopausal fog lifted in less than 1 week. She had more energy and felt more like herself. She lost 51 pounds in 15 months and has kept it off for years. Now 61, Lauris has turned her personal success into the premier thriving intermittent fasting coaching business. As a certified health coach from Institute for Integrative Nutrition, she combines her knowledge of nutrition with deep research and practice of time-restricted eating. Lori guides her clients with a dream come true. Eat the foods you love and enjoy the rest of your life feeling vibrantly well. Thank you so much for being here. I am so excited to really dive deep into this hormonal
Yes.
fat, the mysteries of it, and then how can we look as glorious and beautiful and radiant as you, because for the viewers, you can see her. For the listeners, you can't see, you have this beautiful hair glowing, and of course hair loss or hair thinning is also something that a lot of women during perimenopause and menopause experience as well. So welcome, and thank you for being on this show and sharing your amazing story. How are you?
Thank you, Rita. It's so much fun to talk about self-care. And I have a vision for the world, for all people, which is that we could answer the question, like, how can I be a person who takes really good care of myself no matter what's happening in life?
Exactly.
And that for me, I've been able to demonstrate for myself and thousands of clients that when you have an eating window, when you have a time restricted eating or fasting schedule, that creates a beautiful quiet and simplicity for people then to make other choices that are really good for us. And so it's a pleasure. It's really a joy talking to self-care goddesses.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. So can you tell us a little bit more about your journey? I know I talked about it in the introduction, but
Yes.
what were some of those things that, for example, you struggled with over the 4 years? And then what was that aha moment? Why intermittent fasting? Did you try other methods? And then,
Yes.
and how long and all of that beauty stuff.
So I think it's interesting to note that in my journey, I became a person who cared a lot about nutrition, studied it, was interested in it for my own self, starting in my late 20s. I suddenly had this thought one day. It was really an epiphany. It was like, I think this Diet Coke might not be good for me. It's like, And in that moment, it was a moment in time. I just stopped drinking soda, stopped drinking, fruit juices, apple juice, orange juice, all commercially made drinks. And then I thought, what else? What else is not so good for me? And I decided right then and there to be a person who did not eat sugar. And the way that I did that was I decided I didn't like it, which was kind of a trick because I did like it. But I look way back, I'm like, that is so interesting to me that in my late 20s, there's like a pivotal moment. I turned a corner. I realized something and I did something about it. I never wanted to be the food police. I didn't ever want to, make anybody else feel bad for their choices. I just wanted to feed myself well, fuel myself well. And so then when I was in my mid 40s and the symptoms of perimenopause, that they don't send us to biology class for older women. We don't know. We're not piecing it together and think that the hair loss and the depression and the frozen shoulder and the plantar fasciitis and the dizziness and the memory loss, we don't think, oh, it's all perimenopause. We think all these, suddenly we just feel awful. So that was my situation in my mid 40s. It was 44. I started feeling not well. And then, as you said in the introduction, when my period stopped when I was 49, I went into menopause. Most people don't know that menopause it's not so scientific. It's like when you don't have your period for a year, you are now for 1 minute, that's when menopause happens. You shift from the transition of perimenopause into post-menopause. And so when that moment in time happened, I suddenly started putting on weight very quickly and nothing changed in my food. I was eating really healthfully for all those years. And so I say, I was lean and fit and ate the way I ate. I gained 50 pounds eating the exact same way due to the hormonal chaos of perimenopause and menopause. And then I lost the 50 pounds eating the exact same way. I didn't change my food. because I was already a healthy eater. I had already figured out foods that made me feel great. And so it was intermittent fasting, the implementation of fasting clean and having an eating window and figuring out the eating window that had me feel my very best. There's not one right eating window. People are like,
Mm.
what's the best eating window? I'm like, we have to figure out like what's your daily schedule? What are your goals? What health issues are you dealing with? Do you need to coordinate your meals around your work schedule or your family or so there are many factors, and then we figure out what eating window is amazing for you. And that's what I did. And
Mm.
so the aspect of the question of, did I try other things? Yes. So as I suddenly gained 10 pounds, then it becomes 15, then it becomes 20. I'm like, ah, and nothing I did in the past made a difference at all. Like running more and I was already eating healthfully. So I didn't know what else to do. So I'm really grateful that one night I went home to Colorado where I grew up, and my mom said, she said, let's use this time that you're home to turn the weight around. I was like, I turned into a wailing, screaming 5-year-old and told her that I'd been trying everything and I felt so awful. And it was about 4.5 years of terrible struggle. I was 54 at that point. And that night is when I read about intermittent fasting for the first time. I was well studied in nutrition and I'd heard about therapeutic, like long-term fasting, but I never knew that you could discover a pattern of fasting and eating every day for yourself that would improve your health. So that I started 7 years ago, and I've had an eating window every day for 7 years.
Amazing. Was it always the same eating? I love, by the way, how you specify eating window and fasting window. Most people are talking
Yes.
about fasting, and I love how even just by turning that around, people are like, "Oh, I get to eat." For intermittent fasting,
Yes.
yes, yeah, you get to eat. It's not you're not just fasting, right? And so I love that. So is the eating window? I'm just curious. Is it the same as when you started, or how do you find out which one? And I love that you said, "Okay, let's look at your lifestyle," because for many people coming home after work and having dinner is that family time, right? So, and if you're
Yes.
fasting, then, well, that's not really going to work. Or, for example, what if it's a busy corporate woman that's going to all kinds of after work
Yes.
dinners and meetings after work, or a politician or anything like that? That it's so much of it is after hours, right, or after the working day. So,
Mm-hmm.
what would you recommend for that person? So, sorry, I asked too many questions.
I love it because all those complexities are individual
Yes,
for each person, and every day is different. So,
correct.
um, you asked about me first. So I started what I thought was gradually. I thought, well, I went downstairs the next morning and I said to my mom, I think I discovered something amazing that I'm going to try. And so she asked me to explain it to her, and she said it made perfect sense. So I immediately had a supporter, which was awesome. She said, well, how may I support you? And I said, well, I'm going to have a cup of black coffee in the morning and drink water. And then I'll wait until whatever time I chose to eat. And I was able pretty quickly, because I was in that more quiet environment of being in my mom's home, I was able to focus on myself and do what had me feel my best. So initially I started with because I like black coffee and I'm not addicted to my morning, as I call it, candy coffee. I was able to have a cup of black coffee, switch to water. I learned pretty quickly. I thought that I could have all sorts of herbal teas, but I learned that's not a clean fast. The herbal teas made me ravenously hungry. So people are like, what are you allowed to have while you're fasting? Well, we want to keep it as simple as possible so we don't excite the digestive system and we don't excite the hormones that get ready to process food. So we want to keep it, super plain black coffee, plain unflavored water, and then eat later. So I was able pretty quickly to shrink to a 6-hour eating window just because I ate a little lunch, and then my mom and I would make an early dinner and watch the news and eat the dinner. And suddenly my eating window was closed much earlier than it would when I was on my own. So each person, whether you are eating with your family or you have late night events, I encourage people to start with 12 hours. So the
Mm.
easiest way to start, and remember, everybody listening, this isn't a diet. You don't have to clean out your fridge and your cabinets and prepare for Monday. You literally look at today. It's like, today, when am I eating my last meal? And what time will I close my eating window today? So for you, Rita, when you look at your day today, when will you have your last meal? And when do you think you could close your eating window?
Probably around 6:30.
6:30. Great. Now some people are like, "Oh, I get home from work at 6:30. I won't eat till 8." Okay, fine. That's yours. It's different for everybody, all right? So you're going to maybe have dinner at 5:45, 6. You'll eat your dinner. You'll feel very satisfied. This isn't a diet. You eat your food and you close your eating window, and after you close your eating window at the time that you choose, sometimes people need support with some reminders or like establishing habits where you're going to clean the counters, turn off the lights, walk out of the kitchen and not walk in the kitchen again for the rest of the night and drink plain water. Sometimes people have habits of watching their shows or whatever your evening habits are. If you struggle with late night eating, you might want to sit
Address
in a
that.
different chair, do something differently,
I like
because
that.
your body is so smart. It will remind you when you're sitting in
Yeah.
that favorite chair doing the thing you always do. It'll be like,
Mhm.
ice cream. It's just,
Exactly. And
it's the
when we're in
habit,
a state
right?
of consumption, when we're consuming those Netflix series, by the way, did you see how quickly now it goes to the next episode? I don't know if
It's
you I don't know
so
if you
fast.
noticed that. Right. I was like telling my boyfriend the other
They're
day, I'm
so
like,
smart.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, it was not this fast. I'm sure it was at least 30 seconds. Now it's literally like 10 seconds, maybe. But anyway, that's besides the point. But yes, when you're in a state of consumption, you're consuming whatever series you're watching, whatever you're watching on TV, then your body's naturally like, oh, let's consume some
I'm a
food,
little bored.
right?
I need a little entertainment. I
Exactly.
worked so hard today. I deserve.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of deserving and relaxing and rewarding and habitual eating. So whatever a lot of people do not deal with late night snacking habits. Lucky them, right? So I was lucky
Exactly.
that I liked black coffee already. Other
Yes.
people are lucky because they don't eat late at night. So
Right.
um, when you decide to close that eating window, so for you it's 6:30, someone else it might be 10, then you add 12 hours. So for you 6:30 a.m. So depending on when you wake up and when what you do normally in the morning, you want to be mindful of adding 12 hours. So if someone were to say they want to close their eating window at 10, we'd add 10 p.m., we'd add 12 hours and that would be 10 a.m. They might be like, I can't wait till 10 a.m. So that 12 hours is really hard for some people. And for other people, they're like, 12 hours, that's nothing. I can go 14, So each each person, again, your schedule, your habits are unique to you. And so I say that when you're figuring out your eating window, you start with that 12-12 to the best of your ability. If you can go longer, go longer. And then when you choose to open your eating window, you eat normally. People are like, what's normally? I'm like, what do you normally eat? So we're
Mhm.
doing one thing at a time. We're
Okay.
not dieting, we're not changing everything. We're doing one thing at a time. We are for about a month training the body to
Okay.
shrink the eating window, extend the fasting hours, enjoy the quiet of the fasting hours. It's very simple, not complicated. Plain black coffee if you like coffee, plain black or green tea if you like tea, and then switch to plain water. And if you get sometimes in the beginning, people can get a tiny wooziness, and that's usually not a drop in blood sugar. It can be a drop in minerals, sodium and magnesium. So you can take a
Mhm.
magnesium capsule. You could put a little salt in your water. I prefer putting salt under my tongue. So you take a little
Mhm.
high quality salt, put a few grains under the tongue, and that can perk you right up. Stay busy. When it's time to eat, you notice how long you fasted, you have a meal, you eat a meal to satiety, like until your body goes, I feel good. You're not dieting, you're not restricting yourself. You eat until you feel satisfied. And then you go about your day and then you have your next meal, maybe your next meal, close your eating window, repeat. And over time, again, you're shrinking that eating window, extending the fasting hours, fast clean. The reason why is the clean fast is no flavors, no nutrients. The reason for that is to have all the healing benefits. We want to tap into our body fat for fuel. We want to have a complete digestive rest. We want our hormones to start working correctly. We want this deep cellular clean out, that's repair of our cells that happens when we're fasting. So don't mess with it. Fast, clean, and then have all the fun food flavors, all the foods you love later in your eating window. And there are a couple goals then that as you're shrinking the eating window and as you're extending the fasting hours, you want to keep in mind. You're deciding your eating window based on your goals, not just weight loss, but cholesterol and inflammation. And, there are ailments that people have in their lab work. Their A1C might be high. They might be pre-diabetic or diabetic, and we want to turn that around. So your goals, your daily life and the people in it, that helps determine your eating window, and what has you feel your best. So this is not some hard struggle push. The intention is to feel amazing. I mean, here we are in the self-care goddess, that we're taking really good care of ourselves. So the whole goal is to feel better.
Mm-hmm.
And so if someone has an eating window that maybe they're losing weight, but they feel awful and it's a struggle, that is not the right eating window for you.
Exactly. I love that. Personalized again. I mean,
Yes.
there is the concept of intermittent fasting, and there are maybe some principles that we can guide us. It can be used as a guideline, but then again, working with a professional like yourself to actually personalize what will work for you. That's
right.
Personalized nutrition, personalized lifestyle. Definitely, I'm a big proponent of that. Okay, so here's a few questions. I'm going to play at devil's advocate here.
Oh, good. I love
But
it.
yeah, okay. So we're supposed to be eating a certain amount of calories, right? And of course, certain amount of proteins and the macronutrients to feel that satiety as well. Like I notice when I don't
Yes.
eat as much protein as I should be eating, I'm just 2 hours later I'm craving something else, right? But when
Mm-hmm.
I'm satiated, where I feed my body that protein that it requires, then I'm not hungry 2-3 hours later. So how do you do that within a condensed eating window? How does that, are we just eating more calories, or are we actually looking at calorie reduction? Is intermittent fasting ultimately a calorie reduction method as well? Or can we eat the same amount of calories in just a shorter period of time? Yeah, so let's answer that one first.
Perfect. It is really a good question. And you'll even read articles where doctors will say all intermittent fasting is calorie restriction. So I'm going to bust that myth. All right.
Yes, we
So
love
here's,
Mythbusters here on the
yes.
Self-Care Goddess podcast.
So
So go
here's
ahead.
the first thing. In that first month, when you're starting with 12-12 and you're extending your eating hours, your fasting hours, you're fasting clean, then you're shrinking your eating window, you're trying to figure out what eating window feels good and works with my life. That first month, the body is in the adjustment phase. It is chipping away at the stored sugar in your body. It's using the blood sugar, but it's also using the stored sugar called glycogen. It's like finding the sugar in your body and using it and diminishing it. At some point, usually around 3 weeks approximately, the body runs out of that stored sugar. And it's like, oh, we have other fuel here called body fat. That's what it's there for. It's stored for someday famine. And so with dieting, we're never really tapping into that body fat as well as we could, which we do when we're fasting clean and keeping an eating window. So within that first month, the body is learning, relearning, rediscovering that it doesn't have to just be a sugar burner, the up and down of being a sugar burner, that it can diminish that stored sugar and become a fat burner. Okay. So that's the goal of the first month. I really encourage people to have that first month be a discovery, a personal discovery, and stay off the scale. So, because if you're constantly looking for what's the scale telling me to validate if this is working, that can be some crazy making, and that can be frustrating And I think it's the wrong
Yeah, I like to
tactic.
look at energy levels as well as like how are
Yes,
my clothes fitting versus scale because I have a lot of muscle actually on me. So for my height and body build, like I'm actually heavier than I should be because I have a lot of muscle. So
that's
the
right.
scale for me is not a good indication of my weight management or weight loss
Yeah.
progress. So for me, it's more about like, okay, how are these jeans fitting me today, right? And how much
Yep.
energy do I have? Yeah.
So, energy is super important and feeling well and sleeping well. And so,
Mhm.
what I encourage people to remember in that first month is we're honoring the natural system of the body. Inflammation is lowering. The liver has a chance to work the way it's designed. Our hormones are balancing. And we have over 80 hormones, and there's this network or hierarchy of chemical messengers. And when we're fasting and having an eating window, they actually start working like they're designed. They work better. So we want to give them that chance. And so for the first month, if you have your attention on, I'm establishing new habits here. That's a big deal for a human being. And I'm allowing my body to work as it's designed. So if I have my attention on feeling really well and honoring my body and learning this new habit and noticing, observing, then, and our attention is off the scale and on how we feel, it just goes a lot better in that first month. And then regarding calories, once you get past that first month, okay, so remember I said eat normally, open your eating window, eat a meal, go about your day, eat another meal, go about your day, close your eating window. And what will happen is this incredible phenomenon called appetite correction. It's an idea that was coined by Dr. Bert Herring, who's a metabolism expert. And we have an apostat, an appetite center in our brain that regulates and manages our hunger and satiety hormones. And when we're eating all the time and drinking flavored drinks, those are all chaotic, offline. We can't get the signals to how much should I eat
Mhm.
today and what should I eat. When you're a consistent intermittent faster, and this usually kicks in after that first month, the body starts telling you how much to eat today. Some days you're super hungry and it's like, oh my gosh, I can't even fill this
So
tank. It's like,
true.
this is right.
Mhm.
So I'm a bottomless pit today. Okay, don't worry about the calories. Eat until you're satisfied. Maybe the next day you'll just eat a little and you're like, I can't believe I couldn't finish my meal because my body told me I've had enough. The
Mm.
other thing to keep in mind is I always say eat normally, but because appetite correction will start kicking in, most people start realizing that the ultra processed food does not love them back. I say, eat the foods you love that you're looking forward to eating when you're fasting. It's like, oh, I'm going to have such delicious food later in my eating window. Yum, yum. But eat the foods you love that love you back. And because you're a clean faster and have an eating window, it just gets clearer and clearer what foods have you feel well and what foods do not.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
regarding the calories, again, all that calorie system is actually made up. Okay, it's made up. And Dr. Jason Fung, who wrote the obesity code and the diabetes code, he says calories exist in physics, like they're real in physics in a lab. There are no calorie receptors in physiology. Our body doesn't process calories, it processes nutrients. We have nutrient receptors.
Right.
So you said calories and macros. So the macronutrients are fat, carbohydrate, and protein. And as you rightly said, we tend to have that experience of satiety when we get the right balance of protein and fat and the carbohydrates being fiber, vegetable and fruit carbohydrates as opposed to ultra processed refined sugar carbohydrates,
Right.
which everybody knows are not good for our bodies, but they're designed to keep us addicted. And most people in our
Right.
society are really controlled by that easy, cheap food that has a long shelf life that is
Mm.
perfectly designed by people with PhDs to keep us wanting more. So
Right.
that is really once people become a intermittent faster, fasting clean, having an eating window, the next thing for people to naturally start to inquire into and look at is the quality of their food. So I always say, you know, eat in the beginning, eat what you want, and over time, what you want will change for sure. So
Mhm.
there have been studies, Rita, that show that with intermittent fasting, that they took two groups of people, control group, and said, here's your food, 1,200 calories. The first group can eat it whenever they want, like dieting. You eat little amounts all day long, so very unsatisfying, right? And the
Mhm.
second group ate that 1,200 calories in an 8-hour eating window, which is
So same
really
food, they
same
had.
food, same
Right.
amount of calories.
Okay.
Okay, so the eating window group not only was much happier because it feels so much better. People feel very well when they're fasting and then feel very well when you're eating an abundance of food and your body's satisfied. And that's like eating the food all at once, practically. And it feels really good.
Mm.
And not only were they happier and felt better, but they had more fat loss. Because if you're taking all those calories, all that food or flavored drinks, and stretching it out, you're never giving your body that healing time. So I call my fasting hours my healing hours, are the hours I'm in repair. So I'm
Right.
giving myself this gift of healing when I'm fasting, amazing energy. And then I get to look forward to the foods I love that love me back in my eating window. And so one of the incredible freedoms and benefits of
Mm.
fasting every day is you don't need to count calories. You don't need to measure
Mhm.
anything but time.
Mm.
And then regarding the macros, again, people discover what has them feel well when they open their eating window. Some people want to open their eating window with a full big meal. Other people are like, I feel so much better. I'll just have a hard boiled egg and some olives and a piece of cheese and then wait later for everybody
Right,
figures
right.
out what
Mhm.
uh, within the eating window that they love, what foods have them feel their best and what sustains them. Like you said, you noticed for yourself that if you don't eat enough protein to open your eating window, then you're ravenously hungry 2 hours later.
Right,
That's really
right.
important to notice.
And it's so empowering, right, Lori?
Yeah,
Like you're putting the power back. You're taking the power back. Like you're being responsible
totally.
for your own well-being, and even you're not, giving it to somebody else to do and take care of, because you're so in tuned with your body's signals. So
Yes.
giving that pause, I love how you said that, really during the fasting window allows you to be more in tune with your body and be like, because for me, when I first started doing this, by the way, I love that it was so easy because I don't eat breakfast. Like I just don't have the stomach for breakfast. I just want my coffee, cappuccino, now I do black coffee during my fasting window. But yeah, so for me, it was really easy to skip breakfast and not eat till like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. However, I was very in tune with my body's signals, like you said, right? That appetite. I didn't know about that actually.
Correction. Yes.
Correction, right? So my body starts giving me signals where my fingertips get really cold. So I get this kind of like cold chill in my body. I'm like, all
Mm-hmm.
right, time to eat. So I don't get that dizziness or anything like that.
Yep.
But I start getting really, my temperature drops. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, that's a signal. All right, break your fast. And sometimes it's 2 o'clock, sometimes it's 12 o'clock, sometimes it's 11:30. So I just follow my body
Mm,
and what it wants that day. And so it became like super easy. And I love what you said, freedom. It is food freedom, right? Like
it
really,
is.
you're eating 2 meals instead of three. There's no need for snacking, right? Because you're eating very satiating meals, right? So really, there's no snacking. And really, do we really need to snack? I mean, that could be another conversation, but that's probably
That's a
something that was
new
created.
cultural concept.
I
There
know,
is
right? From the
snacking.
snacking
Yeah.
industry, of course. Like, oh, and I can see, like, how we're doing this in schools with kids, and it's just like we're getting them into the habit of snacking, right? Anyway, that could be another episode.
Oh,
But
yes. The snack culture that started in
exactly.
the late 70s.
Right. And so I know that we really don't need it if you're doing this right, if you're doing this properly. So what about metabolism? So you said something about yeah. So another myth I'm sure we're gonna bust right now is
Yeah.
that it slows down your metabolism because you're telling your body, you're not giving your body food, you're depriving your body of food. How
Yes.
do you answer that?
So remember, in that first month is the adjustment phase, and you are utilizing you're retraining your body to utilize the fuel on board. We have old junky proteins in every cell. So we have protein, we have sugar, blood glucose, carbohydrate, and we have fat on our bodies. That when we become fat adapted, meaning we've used up the sugar on our body, that we flip this metabolic switch into being a fat burner, and there's an unlimited amount of fat on us, right? So I've reached my ideal weight and body fat and so forth. So I'm about 22% body fat.
Wow.
That's like a quarter of my whole self is fat. I'm never going to run out. Okay. So when we become fat adapted in that first month, and then we keep an eating window and keep fasting clean every day, we don't ever slide backwards into being a sugar burner. Then from then on, you're a fat burner. Then the body knows that there's a plentiful amount of available fuel. So, very simplistically, metabolism works in that the body perceives how much available fuel there is. And if it
Mm.
perceives there's a lot of fuel, the metabolism goes up.
Mhm.
So, when we're doing two things, which is we're fat adapted, we're utilizing our own body fat on our bodies. The body's like, yay, unlimited fuel source. And it's just cranking, it's a fat burning machine. And then when we open the eating window and eat well to satiety, not restricting, not skimping, not calorie counting, we eat until the body goes, I feel good. The body's our boss. So when it knows there's an unlimited amount of body fat and it knows you're fueling it well, there's no famine, the metabolism goes up. I don't know what just happened. Did you see that?
We just got balloons. Yeah,
That was amazing. The
celebration.
universe was like, party on.
Celebrate
I have
good
never
times.
seen that before.
Neither have I.
Can we say something else that comes back? Can the people
I
who
don't
are
even,
watching see that?
that's amazing. I'm sure because I've seen it. I saw it. I saw these
What?
beautiful colored
Balloons.
balloons just like raise up and go in the
Wow.
sky. That's awesome. Yeah.
That's right.
That
So
is so
when you're
interesting.
fasting clean, keeping an eating window, eating foods you love that feel satisfying, and you eat to satiety, the body is thrilled and cranks up the
Mm.
metabolism. So,
Amazing. Okay.
yes.
So that's yeah, that's definitely a myth that we just busted another one. So can we, before we bust another one, can we just talk about, okay, so this month is that month of adjustment
Yes.
and sort of your body's retraining, relearning how to eat, and satiety and the appetite thermostat comes in, that appetite
Yep.
correction. So is there like I guess a fasting window where you're like, how do you know like that maybe your fasting window is 22 hours or 20
Yes.
hours, or maybe the OMAD, which is one meal a day, like how do you know when to actually stop that
Okay.
the number of hours that you're fasting?
So when people start, if there are people out there going, okay, I'm going to start today. What time is my eating window closing today? 7 p.m. I'll drink water, go to sleep, wake up, have a black coffee, drink some water. At 7 a.m., I'll eat my breakfast. And if it's 7 a.m., they're like, I'm not even hungry. Okay, wait. Then the way you figure out, see, I think that first month is the adjustment phase for your body is adjusting to chip
Mhm.
away at the stored sugar and then shift into fat burning. But you are adjusting because you're
Mindset.
learning new habits. You're like, oh, I'm doing this thing. So there's you that's learning and your body that's learning. And then I think in the second month is when people typically start to shift. They know what felt well and worked well in that first month. And then the second month is the time to experiment with what's working with my job, what's working with my commute, my fitness, my family. What has some people are like, I just feel so much better if I eat breakfast and lunch. You can have a morning eating window, it's fine. You and
That's
then they're
true.
like, well, I have to deal with not eating dinner with my family. Okay. So
Right. Yeah.
there you come to a point where then you can really look at those three factors that I said, which is in the second month and then the third month and beyond, you're looking at what has me feel my best, What is going to help me reach my goals? Like if someone really
Mhm.
needs to turn around their A1C like urgently, which is
Right,
one of the measurements for type 2 diabetes, they might want to fast longer and shrink their eating window a
right,
lot.
right.
They might feel very determined to, okay, I got through the adjustment phase and now I need to really buckle down and shrink this eating window and have food on hand that's satisfying and easy to make and healthful for me. And so
Is there like a dangerous, like if can somebody on an OMAD diet for the rest of their life be okay? Or is that something
absolutely, if they feel great, okay, so it works for their
going
life,
back?
they
Yeah.
feel amazing, it's
Mm,
helped them reach their goals. So, for example, I started intermittent fasting 7 years ago. In
mhm,
15 months, I reached my goal, my weight goal. In 3 days, I felt better. But then losing 51 pounds in 15 months is slow. That's not like a speed, diet. So, and in there, I had a 5 month stall on the scale. The scale didn't budge at one point, but I got 2 sizes smaller and the scale didn't move during those
mm,
5 months. Okay. So then I
mhm,
reached my goal 15 months later. And then the question is, what am I going to do now? This isn't a
mhm,
diet. This is, I've discovered what fasting and eating schedule has me feel amazing. So why would I change anything? It's not like I'm just going to get skinnier and skinnier and skinnier. Every day while I'm fasting, my body's tapping into my body fat. I've discovered the eating window that works with my work
mm,
schedule, my social life, and has me
right.
feel my absolute best. And I've kept the same schedule. Now, people are like, but what if I have a work dinner? What if I have a brunch celebration? All you do is you look at what your daily sweet spot is. Look at the schedule that has you feel your best, that you're pretty much doing every day. And then you look at whatever event has come up and you move your eating window earlier and you just go back to your favorite thing the next day. So you can either extend it, expand it, have a longer eating window, or you can slide the whole thing earlier. You could be like, I have a 5 hour eating window no matter what's happening. I just move it around each day
Right.
depending on
Right.
what my day holds. Other
Okay.
people are like, nope, I keep it the same every day. And then if a special occasion happens, I just expand it. No big deal. You didn't ruin anything. You just go right back to your favorite thing. And
Right.
then regarding one meal, okay, so I have observed for myself and hundreds, thousands of people that I subscribe to Jen Stevens' methodology around one meal a day. So Jen Stevens wrote Delay, Don't Deny and Fast, Feast, Repeat, New York Times bestseller. It's a really incredible book about fasting and how it works and how to experiment on yourself and tons of research. And so what I do and what Jen Stevens does, and a lot of people who follow her protocols, is we take the parts of one meal. Like if you were going to eat in a restaurant, you'd have an appetizer, maybe a piece of bread and some butter, maybe a soup, maybe a salad, maybe an entree, maybe a little dessert. You might have a flavored drink. And I spread what I consider to be the parts of one meal out over my eating window. And so I technically eat one meal a day, but
Mhm.
in a longer eating window. Now, some people are like, nope, I eat my one meal a day in 30 minutes.
Okay.
That I will say, Jen Stevens, Jason Fung, Megan Ramos, a lot of people feel like having a very, very short eating window can slow the metabolism because it could be that that is not enough time for your body to communicate to you that it does need more food today.
Okay.
So if someone, my coaching would be if a person really is determined. So, okay, I just want to back up. One of the most important things here is that you're discovering an eating window and fasting hours that work for your life, not just for a month, not just for 3 months, that it feels amazing and works for your life. For yes, having a 1 hour eating window may encourage more fat loss and weight loss quickly, but it also could stress you out and not work for your life and slow your metabolism.
Exactly.
So, if somebody is very determined and really does want to have a 1 or a 2 hour eating window, I coach people, depending on the person, but let's just cast a wide net here, that you should either once a week or once every 10 to 14 days have an 8 or a 10-hour eating window one day with 2 or 3 meals, which is what I call a metabolic boost day. That you're having your tiny little eating window, you're getting all the healing benefits of fasting. If it feels really good, you're not struggling, you love your one meal in a 1 hour eating window, but several times a month, you have a metabolic boost day. You pick a Sunday, you have brunch, you have lunch, you have dinner, and then you go back. That can be very helpful to remind the body that food is plentiful. There's no famine, and you can keep the metabolic rate humming. But most people really do work towards a 5, 6, 7 hour eating window, depending on their health goals and what their daily schedule is like.
Okay, amazing. Really, really good insights. So another myth is oftentimes I hear this with regards to women specifically. Now, I know that it worked for you in the menopausal stages. How about women that are not in menopause? And there is the myth there, oh, no, you can't fast as a woman. And now, I don't know, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Mindy Peltz.
Yeah, Mindy Peltz, amazing.
Yeah,
she's such a great doctor. Yeah.
Right. And so she actually has a book out about how to fast as a girl. And basically she talks about fasting, how amazing it is for women. However, she does not recommend it the week before your period. So that luteal phase, because of the progesterone drop. So we need sort of those, more starchy carbs, but still healthy, but more of maybe sweet potatoes coming in so that we can help build that progesterone. So what are your thoughts on that and women and hormones and fasting? I mean, I'm sure we've talked a little bit about menopause, but how about women that are not menopausal or maybe even perimenopausal? Would you recommend fasting?
I do 100%. Here's why. Throughout all human history, human beings have thrived and survived due to food scarcity, meaning like a naturally imposed fasting. There was no food. Okay. So
there wasn't a fridge. We went in.
There was no fridge. There was no snack cabinet. Yeah. Really, up until only 80 years ago, have we had an abundance of food. And then we've been encouraged to be snacking and drinking flavored drinks constantly, since the 70s. So we have not changed evolutionarily. We are designed to burn our own body fat for energy and to have this nice, clean fuel source, this nice energy, feel amazing, and then eat an abundance of food all at once. That's how we're designed. So, yes, women are designed. If we weren't, we wouldn't have survived. Okay. Right. So it's just kind of obvious that women thrive in a fasted state, just like men do. Again, Dr. Jason Fung has studied women extensively. And I am in his camp in that women feel very well when we're fasting and having an eating window.
I do.
During the phase, as you just identified, right before our cycle, right before our period comes, during those days, some women have an increase in hunger. They're like hungrier. Okay. And what they're hungrier for are carbohydrates. So that's not permission to just go off the rails and eat all the refined sugar, So it might be permission to have a longer eating window. It might be permission to eat more starchy carbohydrates or so forth, eat more quantity of food in a longer eating window. But I have found that it's detrimental to have in our mind that I'm doing it or not doing it. That's part of diet culture is I'm on the wagon, I'm off the wagon. I'm doing it, I'm not doing it. I'm stopping it, I'm starting it. If you have in your mind that every day you have an eating window and you get to say when it is, and that you are honoring the natural rhythm of your body and fasting clean and having an eating window, and you get to say when it is, then on those days before your period comes, have a longer eating window, eat more, enjoy. But I have clients in their mid-20s and early 30s. I can think of 3 or 4 of them who have less of an appetite right before their period comes. So that if they were following that protocol, they'd be like, wait, I'm supposed to stuff food in me and not fast before my period comes? That doesn't feel good. So
Right.
we have to really
Honor,
look
yeah,
at,
the
honor our what
individual.
our own body is communicating to us, and
Mhm.
identify this diet culture, diet brain, diet speak that's in our heads, identify it, and step outside of that, what I call it's a punishment model, and step into the world of, I'm making choices that have me feel my best. And if I'm making choices that have me feel my best, my body, I'm working with my body, I have a great reverence and honoring, then I'm going to choose what works best for me right now today. And I start with, when's my eating window today? How am I feeling? And one of the things that intermittent fasters learn is the difference between what I call a hunger wave and real, actual hunger. Most of
Mhm.
us rarely, if ever, have experienced real, actual hunger.
Mhm.
Mostly, we have thoughts and cravings, or some stomach growl, some alert system that says, hey, human, don't forget to go find food later. Except we live in a culture that it's right there. So we
Yeah.
think, stomach growl, eat, stomach growl, eat. Okay, just wait. It will
But it
pass.
does, it does subside. It really does. Yeah, I think another one of our podcast guests, she did the broccoli test. Or if you love broccoli, that's not going to work for you. But like, the Brussels sprouts,
You
most
can
people don't
only
like.
eat so much of it,
You know,
right?
like
Even if
are
you
you
love it.
are you that hungry? You're right. Are you that hungry that you would eat a Brussels sprout right now? And most people be like, no,
No,
it's not. That's not, that's the hunger wave versus like real hunger.
exactly.
Hmm.
I even use an apple. So an apple has sweetness. So it's like,
Hmm.
okay, people are like, I'm starving, or I'm so hungry. It's like, okay, would you eat an apple? People are like, no, I want that bowl of nuts, or I want,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
So yes, you're not actually hungry if
Mm.
you're not interested in having an apple or some broccoli or some Brussels sprouts. The other thing that I want people to keep in mind is, now people hear about intermittent fasting and they go, oh, I heard that's bad for women's hormones. It's like,
Yeah.
where is the evidence of that? What's bad for women's hormones is over restriction, is pushing hard, is struggling. Okay, so the kind of intermittent fasting I'm talking about is a great reverence for your body, a listening to your body, not being distracted by flavors and what am I allowed to have while I'm fasting. You just have a little black coffee, switch to plain water, quiet your system down, open your eating window later, eat foods you love. And in my coaching, I'm always identifying when people are like, oh, so hard, or I was really struggling, or that's, I'm listening for where is any struggle, stress, or strain, because we're going to make it better. We're going to eradicate that. So wherever you're struggling, let me know, because we're going to dig in there. We're either going to shift your eating window, or there are so many solutions.
Yeah.
But if a person is pushing hard and struggling, that's
Yeah.
what's not great for a woman's hormones.
I agree. And even the xenoestrogens, right? All those toxins that they're putting either on their body, their
Yes.
makeup, right? Their hair,
Yes.
that's messing up your hormones, right? Not a little bit of fasting. But you're right. So so it sounds like fasting is for everybody, but who should not be fasting? Like pregnant women.
Women
I
who are
hear
pregnant.
Yeah, I hear also, well, I've read in terms of the people with anxiety, like not skipping breakfast is not recommended. So maybe, like you said, work with the later fast. So maybe stop your fast or start your fasting window at like 4 p.m. or 5 p.m., right? So that you
Mm-hmm.
catch those 12 hours at least. But yeah, who is fasting not recommended for?
Well, I think that pregnant women, women who are breastfeeding, okay, people are like, I'm fine. My baby, I have plenty of milk. But there's research that shows that when you're a fat burning machine, which fasting every day puts you into fat burning mode, your fat cells are releasing toxins. Toxins are stored in your
Yeah,
fat cells. So
right,
you don't
right,
want that going into your baby's milk. So into
right,
your breast milk. So that doesn't mean that a pregnant woman or a woman who's breastfeeding should just go off the rails and eat all the time and eat, that again, being a person who fasts clean and keeps an eating window has you very well practiced at knowing what real hunger feels like, what satiety feels like. It helps you understand the foods that make you feel amazing. So then later, when you're pregnant or breastfeeding, you can then be very aware of and tuned into the foods that are fueling you well and have a cadence of eating a meal to satiety, waiting until hunger arises again. We're just naturally inclined to snack. If there are bowls of nuts and chips and M&Ms everywhere, our hand is in there so fast without even thinking. We all know that about ourselves. So one of the steps of being a successful intermittent faster, and again, that's in the second and third month and beyond, is to notice how you and to create structures for yourself where you can eat a meal, pause in between, let insulin come back down, go about your day, and then wait for hunger to arise and eat another meal. That habit is incredibly helpful for all people. And the other people that shouldn't be, keeping a fasting schedule are young people, teenagers and children. So don't put a kid on a fasting schedule. What we can teach our children is what is actual hunger, that we wait for hunger to arise and have an actual meal. It's detrimental to our young people's health to be snacking all the time and drinking flavored drinks all the time. We're raising children who don't understand, have a sense of satiety. And there are all the health problems that come along with drinking flavored drinks and snacking all the time. So eat meals when you're hungry. That's a
Okay.
great thing to train our children to do.
Exactly. Of course. Thank you. Oh, this was so amazing. And I want to respect your time and everyone's time.
Thank you.
I do have some more personal questions about you. Um,
Great.
so yeah, what is the most common advice that you tend to give your clients when it comes to intermittent fasting? Specifically, let's go back to menopausal women.
I have observed in myself and many, many people that up until our mid 40s, we've been pushing. We have been trained to push.
Go, go, go. Yeah.
That's right. And
Mm.
then when our bodies start to change in our mid to late 40s, we think, understandably, that pushing harder is going to fix it. And the opposite is true. We think that being gentle means being complacent or giving in or not caring or not thinking it's important. But we turn a corner where being gentle is the solution, being gentle is the way. So I coach people mostly for a year or more to how do I be a person who takes really good care of myself no matter what's happening in life every day? Have an eating window, fast, clean, be gentle.
Mm.
And gentle is the way.
Yeah, it's that reset, right? Allowing your body
It
to
is.
self heal. It could only do it in that parasympathetic nervous system state. There's no way your body's going to prioritize healing when it thinks that you're under threat, you're not safe, you're not supported. So thank you.
Exactly.
That's amazing. And I really do hope that women listening realize that sooner rather than later and don't do it out of desperation because something went really really wrong, really bad. So I really hope that they've taken this time to realize, hey, maybe I should slow down, slow down to actually repair, reset, and yeah, just renew. So
It's a
thank you.
myth that pushing harder is the solution. And
Mm.
I always say this isn't a diet, it's a quiet. And in that quiet, it's really it's the quiet we've been craving.
I know, right?
So pushing harder
Exactly.
is not the solution. That's the idea that pushing harder means we're taking it seriously. Nope.
Mm. That's true. I like
Gentle is
that.
the way.
We busted another myth. I love it. I
Yay!
love it. I should get like a little bell or something every time, there's a
Yeah,
myth that's being busted on this
I
podcast.
love that,
I
Rita.
love that. I actually do have one of those cowbells. But anyway, okay, what is the best advice that you've ever been given that still holds true today? And you're just so grateful that you received this piece of advice.
Mm. Oh my gosh. Well, regarding my taking good care of myself, I think so. I worked with and collaborated with Jen Stevens for many, many years, and she's an incredible mentor and example for me of what it looks like to stay consistent with something and to be determined and continuing. And that she kind of showed me the way that my body is informing me of what it needs, and that no amount of books and lists and doctors and food
True.
plans is going to tell me more than my own body.
That's so true.
And
Oh,
I'm so
true.
grateful for the time that she and I spent working together. I learned a lot from her.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. Speaking of books, is there an influential book that you would recommend to our
Yeah.
listeners and viewers?
I think fast, feast, repeat. So
Mm.
I created a workbook that was in the world for 2 years, and then the publisher stopped publishing. And I really want to bring my workbook back because I believe in a book that has people be in action that you can write in and write your thoughts and keep track of things. So
Mhm.
I will be bringing my wonderful workbook back into the world. It was called Celebrating Your Vibrant Future. But I do believe that fast, feast, repeat, it's a big chunky book and you can jump around from chapter to chapter, but it's a great instruction on how to start and the science, the
Mm.
references and research behind how fasting works in the body. And there are great testimonials. And so Fast, Feast, Repeat by Jen Stevens. I love it
Great.
and highly recommend it.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. So, what are your top three non-negotiable self-care habits that you do on a daily
Oh,
basis?
fast, clean. I don't mess with it. I know my
Mm.
body's in deep repair and I know how good I feel. So
Mhm.
I save all the exciting flavors and nutrients for later in my eating window. So fast and clean. The other one is have an eating window. Have an eating window. And I get to say when it is, and moving my body for
Mm.
sure. We are an animal that is designed to move.
Mm.
And being sedentary is one of our downfalls right now in our society. And people think, well, I'm not a gym person, or, but you don't have to be. You can dance, you can walk. I
Yeah.
mean, the number one movement thing that people can do is to walk for 10 minutes after you eat. And if
Yes.
you get in the habit of eat,
Mhm.
walk for
Mhm.
10 minutes, even if it's 5, but eat,
Yes.
walk, that is incredibly beneficial to stabilize your blood sugar. So even
Right.
if you're not like a movement person, you're not a gym person, you
Mhm.
can
Mhm.
find things that you love to do to move the body, and eat, walk, not negotiable for
I
me.
love that.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, Italians have the word for una passeggiata after
What?
dinner or after lunch, usually after dinner, una passeggiata, which means like a little walk, a little short walk. Yeah, and they
I
make
love
known.
that. Okay, write that in the show notes in
Okay.
Italian so I can see what it. Oh, I love that so much.
Yeah, and it's
Italian's so beautiful.
I know, right? And
Yes.
it's so interesting because I was actually just looking at under desk of treadmills. So I do these podcasts standing up, but I'm thinking it'd be really cool to just be walking at the same time and getting
Exactly.
some movement. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm moving around. I'm like doing some like yoga poses and I'm stretching my body, but I think it'd be really cool to just even keep moving, right? As we're actually talking. So yes, something to definitely, I'm with you on the movement part for sure. And of course, on the clean fasting and the window eating. I am
Yeah.
so thrilled that we had this conversation. Before we go, what is your legacy? What do you want to be known for, Laurie?
I would say two things: that people have an eating window. And it's that simple. When's your eating window today? Imagine you and I are meeting up. It's like, when's your eating window today? That it just become natural to ask each
Yeah.
other, you have an eating window. When is it? Let's coordinate. And then the other thing is really that human beings can shift this idea that taking good care of myself is something that gets sacrificed when life gets complicated or
Mhm.
stressful or sad or vacation, like all the spectrum of emotions and the busyness and chaos of life. The first thing we set aside is taking good care of ourselves. Even when we're sick, it's like, oh, show yourself some grace, like eat a bunch of crap. It's like, no, you need to take better care of yourself when you're sick. So if all human beings could easily and naturally be a person who takes really good care of myself right now, no matter what's happening in life, that it become a natural part of being a human being to take really good care of ourselves, life would be different for everyone. And that's
So true. And
what I
even
want to
to
leave.
teach, thank you. Thank you. That's so beautiful. And even to teach our children this so young,
Yes,
that mommy's taking care of herself. And daddy, of course, as well, and become making it a priority, not like when you have time, just really scheduling it. And you just sparked something really interesting. When we're sick, our body naturally wants to fast because
that's
our
right.
immune, right? Our immune system wants to kick in and be like, okay, let me take care of this virus, bacteria, or illness. But your body needs to be like, the digestive system needs a break, because I need to, all that energy that the digestive system takes, it needs it to repair, restore. So it's interesting how we're sick, we naturally want to fast,
Look at
right?
animals. They stop eating
Exactly.
when they're not feeling well.
So starving
Yep.
your colds is not something that is rare. Don't worry about it. Just do it. Listen to your body by removing that interference, removing that ultra processed food, so that you could really tune in with your body. And
Yes.
thank you so much, Lori. You are just embodying the intermittent fasting lifestyle, this food
Thank you.
freedom. Yes, I mean, you look amazing. You sound awesome, super vibrant. We actually met almost 2 years ago, and
Yes.
really nothing has changed. So you're definitely living, walking the talk, and really living this amazing lifestyle, and such an amazing role model for all the women out there going through menopause, in menopause, that you can have this beautiful glowing skin, beautiful healthy hair, and that's just the
Thank you.
physical aspect. But I'm sure the vibrant energy that you have, we can all have it. That's sort of the
Thank you.
message, that's why I love bringing people like you that really embody their messaging and embody what their mission in life, so that we can encourage, we can empower, we can inspire other women. If you can do it, I can do it, so
That's
can
right.
you.
I'm not special. I'm not like this extra determined person. I just have learned a lot about this and experimented on myself. And I just care so much about people feeling well. I just
Mhm.
don't want you dragging through the day. I want you feeling amazing. So I care
I'm
about that.
I'm with you too. Yes, live your highest vibrating life, because we all deserve it.
Mm,
Thank you so
thank
much. I
you.
so appreciate this conversation. You've been amazing. I so value our friendship. I value how our paths have crossed, and I would love to do more things with you. And yeah, you never know what the future holds. So I
Very
thank you.
fun. I accept. Thank
Have a
you.
beautiful, beautiful day.